If you're in the habit of quitting when you're working on a drawing because you think you're overworking it, but you'd really like to take it further to a point where you'd be more satisfied with your results, then you'll want to watch this video. You're going to see the progression of a single drawing through 4 stages. The entire drawing took a little over 20 minutes, but because the first sketchy stage took around 9 minutes, it has been fast-forwarded to less than 30 seconds. The next 3 sequences will play at normal speed. Enjoy! I'm starting by doing the triangulating in my mind rather than making a layout of points of reference between the features of the face and the forms of the head. I'm loosely sketching in some basic shapes and shadow patterns. Alright, this can be the completed drawing, or it can be taken further, which is what I'm going to do in the next phase. I've switched to a softer compressed charcoal. As I go forward, I'll be using the original drawing as a workable outline. It's turning into a sort of mixed media with this softer, blacker charcoal on top of the harder, lighter charcoal line. I'm loosely revising everything I drew before. I want to make the features more definite and pull together the shadows so that there will be a better sense of roundness and more of a sculptural quality. Besides being softer and blacker, the compressed charcoal I'm using now makes a broader, more variable kind of line, so that as I'm reinterpreting the forms, I'm also enjoying the change of medium, and it inherently dictates or inspires a different kind of interpretation. So I'm kind of watching the things that I did before and using them, and also redrawing them or just ignoring them. So I'm making a drawing on top of a drawing. Now the light areas in here can be made a little more, with this can be made a little bit more light by just by tying this together and lowering the value in here. Accuracy is a very bad thing to keep in the forefront of what you do. If you are seeking for accuracy, take a photograph. Not that photographs are accurate. In a way, drawing from life is more accurate because you're more concerned with perception than the depiction of a imagined reality. So, and it's interesting, every little line, every little mark makes a different, adds a different reading to what you're doing. This is the reworked original drawing. It's more of a character study now. The face is more expressive and the features are bolder. And we're going to the next stage. Every little mark makes adds a different reading to what you're doing. You can see what dark fluid strokes can be achieved with this type of medium. I think the face is just asking to be made more emphatic with something happening inside the empty white space behind. So I'm adding some broad black contrast for some depth. Sometimes just reminding yourself that there's something behind, not a void, and working on the space. Give some depth to what you're doing. And it creates a different dynamic with the rest of the image. It's easy to see how increasing the black and white contrast has changed the design overall, along with the way we focus on the subject, the model. So this is a good place to go back into the sketchy shapes of the head and neck and the shadow areas. All right, so the sketch, or study, whatever you want to call it. A lot of different, no formula here, just kind of an impulse driven observation. Okay, at this point, there's a lot of things you can do. And as I've said, it's not knowing when to quit so you don't overwork, it's knowing how to proceed. And the way to proceed is to retain an interest in what you're doing instead of being judgmental at any particular point. Judgment only occurs after something is done and you compare it to some existing plan you've made, objective that you've made for yourself. But sketching is the way you learn. In drawing, in art, in anything, you progress by doing. So this is changing all the time. Now at this point, I could blend the shaded areas together and pull out some highlights, or start smearing things around. And should I do that or leave this? The drawing is more three-dimensional, it has depth, and it's a bolder image. And I'm going to take it to another stage. A lot of people like to use a blender because they don't want to get their hands dirty. But if you work with your fingers, you can work faster and looser. It's up to you. when you paint, finger painting is great. When you finger paint, the tool isn't the interlocutor between you and the actual image. So you can use the drawing tool that you already come equipped with. It's very useful, these things. This hand. You could imagine you're modeling in clay. Fingers are very sensitive. And we're making a pretty rapid transformation of the drawing in a short period of time. Now at this point, I've got myself into a tonal drawing here, more and more. After all this smearing, I've got nothing to lose, so I'm just kind of going at the features, look at the model, and making the dark areas darker and just kind of going crazy. But I'm also looking at all the little shapes, the transitions inside the face, and making them a little more, reaching around a little more roundly from one form to the other. Alright, I've done enough smearing around, and it's time to take out the eraser. I have a kneaded eraser here. We can pull out some of these, the lighter halftones and illuminated areas. The kneaded eraser works really well for this. So you're essentially painting with the eraser. I'm working in a close value range from light to lighter and even lighter, and making some almost highlights that are hard to see, but they'll all pull together and pay off later when the drawing is more complete. Don't think that this can't be worked on forever. All you need is to feel like you can keep building on what you've already done. Now we could go back in. Now that the light and dark areas are more unified, the image is simpler again, and it's more receptive to further work. I'm going to go back in with the harder compressed charcoal that I started the drawing with, and I have a lot of ideas about what I've been working on and looking at, so I'll be using the tool in a different way. And our model is starting to tilt a little. That's okay. You don't need to, that's the thing about working from the live model. It's not necessary that it's good for you if they start collapsing on you, because it actually can enliven the painting or drawing, because you're making many, many hundreds or even thousands of images in a single single image. So it's kind of like all the movement, all the thoughts and expressions are somewhere inside of the drawing, layer upon layer. All right, that's enough for the moment. Took a little over 20 minutes to do this drawing, and it's now bolder and more sculptural and more expressive. And this is a good place to stop. And the point is, you can work on a drawing for as long or as short a time as you want, as long as the results, you're moving toward the place you want to go and you're enjoying what you're doing and you're staying involved at all times. And that's the key thing, is your involvement, sustaining your interest.